Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning in to LO3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy Mango, South Florida, and today's date is Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. Yeah, just reading some reports and hearing some people are skeptic what's going to happen on January 6th. Some folks said Pence may take action or reject, or people, Congress and all that. Well, I can say this for sure. There's many people out there are watching them. And I'm not saying this on the perspective of President Trump, but to the rule of law. You will find out who is credited and who is treasonous when it comes on January 6th with the Joint Session Congress, 1 p.m. I want to take the initiative on checking it out myself. It'll be very interesting indeed. Take down notes. Hopefully all you folks out there will record, do your own little homework, take little notes. And I'm just wondering if Ted Deutsch, my congressman, supposedly, will accept or reject those particular states. I know one thing, he loves spending people's money, supports bigger government programs, have feds know best, centralize everything, and of course he did an illegal impeachment, which is the bill of attainder. He supported that. And even when I was watching a speech from Women for Trump in Virginia, when people say it's a in a bad impeachment and so forth. No, it's an illegal impeachment, unconstitutional. You got to use those words more serious. Rhetoric. Use those words more seriously. Get to the point without any hesitation. And sometimes these patriot rallies, I see them use the American flag that pertains. That's been ascertained with golden ridges around it. And it does contradicts Title 4 U.S. Code 1. How the American flag should be. Golden ridges is considered maritime law. So all you Trump supporters out there, or patriots, better need to pay attention to those areas. Always got to look at it in the bigger picture. And I read what Eisenhower did and all that, but I still find it null and void based on that particular law, U.S. Code. So, I'm a little bit mellowed, Enjoy the day. It's very beautiful. And hopefully everyone out there around the world, wherever you're at, be safe, bundled. And of course, pay attention. Let's talk about deep state, China, Russia invading the United States. Hear about that too. However, I think the problem will be right now, nuclear subs and all that, they don't want to. If communist China wants to attack this nation, they want to make it conventional because we got a lot of resources they can use. The farming right now is so bad. Even they had a flood. I think it was a 3 Georgia. There was a flood in, I think it's southern China. So they're not in good shape. Big economic downfall. So the whole geopolitically, the world's in turmoil. What we're seeing here is just a teaser. But we're looking at hearing some of the lockdowns and watching some reports. They're doing it like the lockdown in London. Brian Rose, who's running for mayor of London, he's definitely wants to save that city because he knows it will hurt the Brits a lot more than benefit. And of course, even in Zimbabwe too, they have these lockdowns. They're like, over there, it's like, I think it's summertime right now over there. From 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., all the stores are mandate to close. All right, that's what tells you when government knows best. Economic turmoil, geopolitically speaking. Now, you can't just blame one person or anything like that. And that's why it dawns on me. And that's why I got to give props to Ron DeSantis, trying to keep it open. Florida open. And like I tell people that know my show, I have my disagreements with him as well. Okay, I'm fair. But I always back it up on their actions. So, all right, well, enough of that. Little rant there. I'm going to be talking a few things. And this one came from the American Free Press. So we're going to talk about Mattis, mink farmers, and what to expect in 2021. All right, so it says here, Mattis, kill America first. Mark Anderson wrote this. Former Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis, retired a 4-star general named to that position by President Trump on Inauguration Day in 2017, departed the position 2 years later in January 2019, and has never looked back in his quest to eschew the former boss's nationalist perspective and preach the gospel of internationalism. His new devotion saw him address the Chicago Council on Global Affairs, or is it a CCGA, on September 11, 2019, when he earned the privilege from one of the nation's oldest think tanks to speak at his first ever Lester Crown Distinguished Lecture on U.S. Foreign Policy, named for the 95-year-old billionaire of Henry Crown, founder of the big-ticket defense contractor General Dynamics. Mattis exchanged his sword for a pen and co-wrote an article for Foreign Affairs, the Journal of the Council on Foreign Relations in New York, which was founded in 1921, 1 year before the Chicago Council on Foreign Relations, renamed the CCGA, was established. Mattis and co-writer Corey Sheikh, and of the American Enterprise Institute CFR fellow and editor Jim Ellis and Joe Felter of the Hoover Institution presumed to put the final nail in the coffin of the Trump presidency by declaring Mr. Trump's America First foreign policy a dead letter and urging President-elect Joe Biden to rid the world of any last vestige of such a deplorable nationalist framework. At these scurrilous scribblers noted in the latest Foreign Affairs edition in January, when President Joe Biden and his national security team begin to reevaluate U.S. foreign policy, we hope they will quickly revise the national security strategy to eliminate America First from its contents, restoring in its place the commitment to cooperative security that has served the United States so well for decades. The obvious mission of these writers is to make the case for restoring American foreign policy to a pre-Trump status. That means making sure the U.S. continues to be the global endgame that must carry most of the weight financially and in terms of troop commitments, according to the globalist status quo that has been placed for over 70 years. Starting at the 1944 Bretton Woods, New Hampshire Conference, which laid the cornerstone of the post-war rules-based world order. As CFR President Richard Haas in 2018 told the British House of Lords, as many other one-world apparatchiks have preached. President Trump's call for better financial burden sharing among NATO members be insistence that the U.S. military should no longer automatically intervene in every would-be conflict, and his eventual move to enact serious troops drawdowns in Afghanistan and Iraq, along with his avoidance of any large-scale military action since 2017. It's not what the one wonders have in mind, broadly speaking. Mattis and company couched in this way in their foreign affairs piece. The United States today is undermining the foundations of an international order manifestly advantages to U.S. interests, reflecting a basic ignorance of the extent to which both robust alliances and international institutions provide vital strategic depth. The best strategy of ensuring safety and prosperity is to buttress American military strength with enhanced civilian tools and a restored network of solid alliances. Lo and behold, Joe Biden himself, likely with assistance, belied a foreign affairs piece for its March-April 2020 edition, in which he rambled. By nearly every measure, the credibility and influence of the United States in the world have diminished since President Barack Obama and I left office on January 20, 2017. President Trump has belittled, undermined, and in some cases abandoned U.S. allies and partners. He has emboldened our adversaries and squandered our leverage to contend with national security challenges from North Korea to Iran, from Syria to Afghanistan to Venezuela. He has launched ill-advised trade wars. He has abdicated American leadership in mobilizing collective action to meet the new threats, especially those unique in this century. However, ill-advised trade wars could have seen as Donald Trump finally standing up to a clever adversary, China. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here for the moment. See, there's one thing that Joe Biden is: a globalist butt boy, not just CCP's pet, but a globalist butt boy. To all you Biden worshippers out there, please prove me wrong, because the truth hurts. And all those imbeciles out there that praise Biden will be a great president is nothing more than a propaganda wet dream. Now I'll leave it at that, so I will proceed. However, ill-advised trade wars could have seen as Trump finally standing up to a clever adversary, China, and entering that the U.S. properly protects its industrial base via sufficient tariffs, while finally reducing the enormous trade surprises China has leveraged against the U.S. to build its military, even while Mr. Trump's new trade agreements put badly needed tariff revenue into the U.S. Treasury. And if getting allies to pay a larger share of troops and treasure is abandoning them, then so be it. Ironically, President Trump has never moved to be an absolute isolationist. As the CFR cabal wrongly claims, the U.S. still commands the airways and sea lines and works with allies. But for those in the CFR's orbit, including General Mattis and Mr. Biden, the world model of the globalists cannot permit even the slightest hearsay to logjam its path to an enduring, unpopular rule from behind the throne. Absolutely. See, that's why I knew Jim Mattis was another globalist bellboy himself, including Joe Biden and all the cockroaches in Washington, D.C. Doesn't matter what party they're in. It's irrelevant. So that's the principle. When it comes to the New World Order, folks, any agent that represents that institution are your enemies, regardless where you're at. They don't care about any of us. Okay? Doesn't matter. National origin, race, color, creed, sexual orientation, etc. They look at us as useless eaters, numbers. So that's why I've been calling these people out for a long time. And I'm not afraid to say it. Because liberty-minded individuals stand up for freedom and morality. Okay, well, next one here is going to be a pretty brief article. Is came out from the Canadian Press originally, but Epoch Times posted on their site. It says here, BC mink farmer destroys 1,000 animals after some test positive for COVID-19. So, British Columbia's chief veterinarian says a mink farmer decided to euthanize the remaining 1,000 animals from his Fraser Valley operation after some of the mink tested positive for COVID-19. Dr. Raina Govaldison says the operator was not ordered by the provisional government to euthanize the animals as more tests are underway to determine the extent of the presence of COVID-19. The first farm where the virus spread to the mink also had 8 workers who tested positive, and Goldenbosson said both farms remained under quarantine. She says there are no other reports of COVID-19 at BC's 8 other mink farms. Alan Herkovici, a spokesman for the Canada Mink Breeders Association, says imposing strict quarantine and biosecurity measures at mink farms for about 2 weeks appear to limit the spread of COVID-19 to other animals. After COVID-19 was diagnosed on the first farm, the BC Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals called for a moratorium on mink farming in the province. So that is pretty disturbing indeed, to be very frank. So now they're saying here, is going to hop on everything with animals and humans. Well, I don't know, but it is disturbing. Okay, I don't even own mink coats or anything like that. So that's not my forte. Pretty flamboyant for me. So, but one of those areas you gotta always look at. How accurate are these reports? That's the question. So, all I gotta say, folks, just be vigilant on your health, especially in those areas up north, because northern region during winter, because the sun is not as bold. So hit that much sun as you can. Vitamin D as well, and be vigilant on your health wherever you're at, folks. That's the bottom line. I'm not even depending on. I'm not even relying on the vaccines that we got there, because what I read, I questioned it immediately too. So I'm not too thrilled. But your health is more essential. So plenty of information to look up. Remember, because every virus or infection has an Achilles heel. All right, one more thing here. It's going to be Rutherford Institute, John W. Whitehead, what to expect in 2021. Madness, mayhem, manipulation, and more tyranny. 12 voices were shouting in anger, and they were all like, no question now what happened to the faces of the pigs. The creatures outside looked from pig to man, and from man to pig, and from pig to man again. But already it was impossible to say which was which. George Orwell, Animal Farm. That was a nice little short book. I recommend people read it, because the man who wrote it, Mr. Orwell himself, that's his pen name, by the way, of course, survived, know about socialism firsthand, because he's went in that movement. And he warned the people in this book in 1984 how dangerous it can be. Collectivism by conscription. So, let's see what it says here. What should we expect in 2021? So far, it looks like this year is going to be plagued by more of the same brand of madness, mayhem, manipulation, and tyranny that dominated 2020. Frankly, I'm sick of it. The hypocrisy, the double standards, the delusional belief by Americans at every point along the political spectrum that politics and politicians are the answer to what ails. Excuse me. Is it ails? Yes, sorry about that. What ails the country. when most of our nation's history, politics and politicians have been the cause for our woes. Consider for years now, Americans with sheep-like placidity have tolerated all manner of injustices and abuses meted out upon them by the government, police shootings of unarmed individuals, brutality, corruption, graft, outright theft, occupations, and invasions of their homes. By militarized police, roadside strip searches, profit-driven incarcerations, post-driven wars, egregious surveillance, taxation without any real representation, a nanny state that dictates every aspect of their lives, lockdowns, overcriminalization, etc., without ever saying enough is enough. Only now do Americans seem righteously indignant enough to mobilize and get active, and for what purpose? Politics. They're ready to go to the mat over which corporate puppets will get to honor to serve as a smiling face in the pig for the next 4 years. Talk about delusion. It's so ludicrous as to be Kafka's quit. Or Kafka's askew. Excuse me. A little tongue twister pronunciation there. A perfect example of fallacious, topsy-turvy, and downright preserved life and has become in the America. While President Trump does not doles out medals of commendation and presidential pardons to political cronies who have done little to nothing to advance the cause of freedom, Julian Assange rots in prison for daring to blow the whistle on the U.S. government's war crimes. Just to let you know, folks, before I keep going here. Like I said before, it was a little bit like a pro and con, like I said, double-edged sword. But like when people, I'm not too. It should have been, even though they say about his, his extradition shouldn't be because of his health. That's a lot of people want to please. But one thing I like about it, the judge created a dent. This barrister created a dent. So I encourage every American to contact the U.S. Department of Justice, where is the Attorney General, Deputy, and the Deputy's Associate Member. Okay, so AG, DAG, and DAAG. Okay, and let them know, exonerate all charges, including extradition. I've done it. You can do it too, and hopefully you do the same thing with the ballots. Stick to their principles. So I'm gonna continue on. You think that Americans would be outraged over such abject pandering to the very swamp that Trump pledged to drain? But that's not what has the right and left so worked up. No, they're still arguing over whether dead men voted in the last presidential election. Either way, no matter which candidate lost to the other, it was always going to be the deep state that won. And so you have it. Reduced to technicalities, distracted by magicians' con games, and caught up in the manufactured, highly scripted contest over which beauty contestant wears the crown. We have failed to do anything about the world falling apart around us. Literally, our economy, at least, as it impacts the vast majority of Americans as opposed to the economic elite, is in shambles. Our infrastructure is falling apart. Our government has been overtaken by power-hungry predators and parasites. Our ability and fundamental right to govern our own lives is being usurped by greedy government operatives who care nothing for our lives or our freedoms. Our ship of state is being transformed into a ship of fools. We stand utterly defenseless in the face of technological revolution brought by artificial intelligence and wall-to-wall surveillance that is reorienting the world as we know it. Despite the amount of high-tech encroachments on our rights, we have been afforded a paltry amount of legislative and judicial protections. Indeed, corporate America has more rights than we do. We stand utterly powerless in the face of government, bureaucrats, and elected officials who dance to the tune of corporate overlords and do what they want, when they want, with whomever they want, at taxpayer expense, with no thought of or concern for the plight of those they are supposed to represent. To this powerful elite, we the people are good for only two things: our tax dollars and our votes. In other words, they just want our money. I say go call out the local servants in your own town, folks. That'd be a great place to start. We stand utterly helpless in the face of government violence that has meted out both at home and abroad. Indeed, the systemic violence being perpetrated by agents of the government inflicted on unarmed individuals and battlefield-trained SWAT teams, militarized police, and bureaucratic government agents trained to shoot first and ask questions later, has done more collective harm to the American people and their liberties than any single act of terror or mass shooting. We stand utterly silent in the face of government and corporate censors and a cancel culture that, in their quest not to offend certain viewpoints, all are too willing to eradicate views that do not confirm. In this way, political correctness that has given way to a more insidious form of group think and mob rule. We stand utterly locked down in the face of COVID-19 mandates, restrictions, travel bans, penalties that are acclimating the populace to unquestionably accede to the government's dictates, whatever they might be, as long as they are issued in the name of national security. No matter how extreme or unreasonable, we stand utterly intimidated in the face of red flag laws, terrorism watch lists, contact tracing programs, zero tolerance policies, and all other manner of police state tactics that aim to keep us fearful and compliant. We stand utterly indoctrinated in the collective belief that the government, despite its long-standing pattern and practice of corruption, collusion, dysfunction, morality, and incompetence, somehow represents we the people. Despite all of this, despite how evident it is that we are mere tools to be used and abused and manipulated for the powers elites' own diabolical purposes, we somehow fail to see their machinations for what they truly are: thinly vile attempts to overthrow our republic and enslave the citizenry in order to expand their power and wealth. It is a grim outlook for a new year, but it is not completely hopeless. If hope is to be found, it will be found with those of us who do not rely on politicians to promise to fix what is wrong, but instead to do their part at their local levels to right the wrongs and fix what is broken. I am referring to the builders, the thinkers, the helpers, the healers, the educators, the creators, the artists, the activists, the technicians, the food gatherers and distributors, and every other person who does their part to build up rather than destroy. As I make it clear in my book, Battlefield America, The War on the American People, we the people are not hope for a better year. Not Trump, not Biden, and not the architects and enablers of the American police state. Until we can own that truth, until we can forge our path back to a world in which freedom means something again, we're going to be stuck in this wormhole of populist anger, petty politics, and destruction that is pitting us one against the other. What are you saying? Slaves versus slaves. That's the battle. In that scenario, no one wins. There is a meme circulating on social media that goes like this: if you catch 100 fire ants as well as 100 large black ants, put them in a jar. At first, nothing would happen. However, if you violently shake the jar and dump them back onto the ground, ants will fight until they eventually kill each other. The thing is, the red ants think the black ants are the enemies and vice versa, when in reality, the real enemy is the person who shook the jar. That is exactly what's happening in today's society today. Liberals versus conservatives, black versus white, pro-mask versus anti-mask. The real question we need to be asking ourselves, who is shaking at the jar and why? Whether red ants will really fight black ants to the death is a question for the biologists, but it's an analogy of what's playing out before us on the political scene and what chilling lesson in social engineering. So before you get caught up in the circus politics and conveniently timed spectacles that keep us distracted from focusing too closely on the government's paragraph, first ask yourself, who's really shaking the jar? I can't argue with that at all, folks. And that meme has so much merit. I'm going to have to put that on my Facebook page and let them, see what they think. But that's one of the areas you got to look at, folks. Divide and rule. This is what the order wants. And don't get me wrong, like I said before, it's great having all the Trump supporters out there, but it's more than just him. You better start going on the local, state, and local levels as well, including myself at times. There's times I think I'm not doing enough. But just do what you can. When you remember, always believe in plant the seed, not no tree. The opposition is doing that. Where have you been? We can do it with liberty, which is freedom plus morality. That is essential. So I encourage everyone to do that. Hey, like I remember the time when, I'll give you a good example. When Fort Lauderdale Mayor Trantilus and Cooper ran, even though Cooper lost, he had like 42%, and they didn't really have that much of a vote turnout for the mayor race seat for a long time. That's pretty damn cool, because the message was sent. I got to keep tabs on what's going on my city and county levels too. So, folks, take the initiative, do a little homework, and see what you like, what you don't like, and throw that info bomb at them. Tell your representatives. If they screw up, you call them out. Tell them, why do you chose poorly? I do it all the time. Well, multiple ways of being proactive, folks. Don't get angry, but get inspired. Remember this. Our rights can never be abolished or altered. Governments can. And that will be it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share this throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or something interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence with Decorum. Furthermore, I'll leave the footnotes of these articles on my speaker page. Want to contact me? Hit me at LookYourLuck3@gmail.com or LookYourLuck03@protonmail.com. If you want to donate, you can hit me at paypal.me or cash.app/LookYourLuck3. Hey, folks, subscribe, support, Epoch Times, even Canadian Free Press, you can do that. American Free Press, and the Rutherford Institute. If you show them, if you give them the support, I thank you. All right, once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. May your guardian spirits be with you.